Trends are great, but only to a certain point. To be able to be fully seen and to be able to feel more confident in yourself, developing the individual characteristics that you have within yourself is more important than just following the trends. What I've noticed recently from idols especially is that they all have this particular kind of 개성, which is like an individual trait, like something that's charismatic about that individual person that actually makes them more popular and gets them traction and popularity. There's a couple examples that I want to go over. Every single comeback, they're able to, or sometimes not able to, create a new version of themselves that make it work for them. And that whole entire process is actually something that they don't do it themselves, right? They have like stylists, they have the company, they have, suggestions from the fans, people around them that will, and of course consultants as well, who will help them try to figure out what style really suits them and what will make them pop out. But the problem is when normal people like me look at people online and see a certain style, we want to copy it exactly. Of course, in the process of copying and imitating, we get to a point where we have our own colors blended in within it as well, and we can develop our own style afterwards. But that process for some people may come more naturally, and for others it may not, because it's hard to be able to fully copy someone else onto your body and your skin and hair. Everything about it is so different from that person that you're trying to imitate. To be able to understand all the intrinsicies and the details that go into creating an artwork that is an idol or a celebrity, it takes a lot more attention to detail and a lot more professional help to be able to get to that point. So it's never about becoming the exact same person as that person that you admire, because their body shape, their personal color may not be the same as you. You may find a certain version of that but look cooler actually in a certain outfit that you may have never thought of before. And that outfit or that style, that person that you admire, actually, if they tried the same thing that you actually look really hot in, they may not even be able to pull it off the way that you do. Hey guys, it's Nadia, and welcome back to another episode of Half Bloom. I am here today with a little bit of a change. As you can tell, I have been undergoing this weird growth spurt and puberty of trying to figure out myself a little bit more. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see the drastic change, which is the hair extensions that make my hair 22 inches longer than they used to in my previous episode. But I have been learning a lot about what it means to build yourself and understand yourself and feel passionate about something, or just learning more about the world around you in this process of doing a little bit more things that are challenging myself in terms of my appearance. Because one of the things that I realized is that and something that I talked about last week too, is that more and more as we grow older, developing our personalities and changing the situation that we are in mentally is a lot more difficult if we don't change the environment that we are in. It's easier when we're kids because we're surrounded by so many different people, we're in school, and we're so much more malleable and flexible to be able to change our personalities, change what we like, change how we view things, and take in new information without seeing it as a threat. And so it's more and more difficult to be able to adjust and change and be more adaptable as we grow older. And I don't think it's a problem with how open-minded you are. I think it's literally a brain structure thing to be able to fully take in and understand and try out new things. It's, I think, also a development of fear that we didn't used to have before. It could very much well be just the lack of time that we feel. We also notice changes in our body, whether it's health-wise, whether it's physical, wrinkles. We can see that we are aging, and that I think is scary and therefore makes it more difficult for us to jump in on new things. And I know it's kind of strange for me to go from running a cafe to all of a sudden trying out these new things, but in the process I'm also gaining a lot of creative energy, and I think in this process I'll be able to develop a lot more connections and community in the process, as well as I'm actually trying to go out and about doing things, understanding myself in the process to see what I want to do and what I like to do, to then build a more sustainable career in the future. So last week I had done a photo shoot and I cut my hair, but in the meantime I actually did a personal style and personal color experience. So I know that people hear about body shapes and potentially personal color. I know it's a big thing in Korea, but if you're not exposed to the Korean culture as much, then I think it's a little bit more new of a concept, that personal color. So I'm gonna brew some coffee today and talk to you guys about that experience and what that was like and why that made me get this kind of hair. So I'm actually not gonna grind coffee and brew coffee today. I actually have this from Saturnbird that I got from a meeting this week. I've been seeing this around quite a lot. So this is the package. Real quick, let me just show you. Open it up. Basically inside, it's the entire theme of this one is it's that you can create a message with it. So it's got 26 different flavors or different coffee beans based off of the alphabet. So it's got from A to Z and different categories. There's single origin, there's blends, there is also fermented coffees. I think this is the first time though that I've seen fermented coffees in like mixed instant coffees. So they don't actually position themselves as like mixed coffee because it's a little bit different in the process of how they create. It's freeze-dried coffee, which I know some people have already said to me how extra that is and very unnecessary. But I think at the same time, it's actually pretty comfortable. I've been trying this coffee out for the past like 2 days now, and it's just been nice to be able to like sometimes when I'm in a rush, be able to like have like decent coffee without having to brew my own. I know that some are going to be better than the others, but I just think that like because specialty coffee people kind of tend to prefer just brewing the coffee manually instead of having to freeze dry it and then brewing it themselves. It's rare to see, I guess, like coffees that are geared towards more specialty coffee people like in the industry or those who actually enjoy brewing in their cup of coffee in a more like higher level sense, not in like a grade or like a status symbol way, but as in like understanding of coffee. And yeah, so compared to that, I think it's a good way to be able to give a introduction to taste fermented coffees for just the intro to coffee or just like drinking coffee for caffeine people as well. But yeah, this episode isn't sponsored at all. I just thought this was super cute and just kind of got me intrigued with their positioning and their message of the whole thing, because I've seen them on Instagram and they kind of promote their idea of like this message of like you can create like LOVE and make it like a 4-package coffee thing based on the different letters and see how cute they are. It's like different letters and then you can put them in a box. Yeah, and they're all different colors, and so you can mix match the colors or like the flavors as well, and they're like sealed like so you have to actually open this, I guess, aluminum seal to be able to bring it out, so that actually prevents the flavors from coming out. But of course at the same time, if you leave this for too long, you'll actually get like more of like the CO2 flavor, so it'll actually go bad eventually. But it does last longer than I would say drip bags, just because of the form that it has been created in, which is a freeze-dried process, and also just like the packaging itself. But yeah, I mean, like imagine just like putting this around and like in your bag and just like bring it around with you. I actually think I'm going to just bring this in my bag, like several of these around, and like if there's anyone who recognizes me on the streets or like any barista that like actually says hi, this is going to be my gift to you. So for any of my podcast listeners out there, if you ever see me on the streets, if you say hi, I most likely will give you guys one of these until of course like my supply runs out. But yeah, so I am gonna choose, I had a darker one, but I've been super curious about the fermented ones. I know we had like a fermented one last week, but we're just gonna have another one this week because that's, I think, I'm most curious about that. So X. Ooh, yes, this is a watermelon one. So I'm gonna try this one out. They previously, apart from this, they also had like number systems, like 1 to 6 based on like light to dark roast. But this is, I think, released this year, so that's what I'm gonna try out. So this is X. This is it's a fermented coffee, my eyes are so bad now. Colombia Milan watermelon nitrogen infusion fermented Ethiopia washed. Oh, okay. So it's a blend. It's got Ethiopian and the fermentation from Colombia. It is light roasted. The flavor notes say watermelon and mint. It actually smells so good. And the recommended is an iced Americano, 240, but since I don't have ice, I'm gonna just put that in. It's 3 grams, which I mentioned in my video of like my short review yesterday on Instagram, that was more than I thought. And what I meant by that is that it's actually quite a bit of coffee that's in here, and 3 grams seems really small to some people, but when you pour water, it actually turns out pretty strong. I'm actually gonna see how much water tastes good with it. So it says iced Americano 240, so probably better with more than that. So I'm just gonna pour in 250 of water and see how that tastes first. This water is just brewed to 93 degrees. Ooh, is this cup gonna fit? Okay, it's 256, so it's a little over just to compensate for the melted ice. And it actually melts really quickly, so I don't actually have to stir the coffee in it, which is super convenient. Like I can just put it in a tumbler and just shake it and go, which is what I did this morning as I went to my workout. I'm even see them if I display it like this. It's actually super cute, so I just want to like lay them out. I already gave some away, unfortunately, so I don't have all of the alphabets because I gave like a bunch away yesterday at a cafe. And the fun thing is that we've got like personal color here as well with all the different coffees. You've got the dark, like the vibrant colors, you've got more darker colors, and whatever your personal preference is, it's kind of like, what are you feeling today? And the idea of like color theory and like using that to like psychologically change your mindset, I think is fascinating. And I don't think I used it as much, especially when I went with a friend this time. I realized how much I wasn't using color to change my mood. My friend that I went to go get the personal color experience with, she actively chooses like vibrant red, vibrant colors, blues and whatever, to be able to like make herself feel good that day. Whereas I don't think I've ever done that. I just kind of was like, I want to wear something that just makes me look good. And what will make me look good? If it's this color, is it that color? And that's because kind of all I really wanted. And as long as I looked good in the mirror or like in a photo, I was super happy with that outfit. But I do think that the combination of both of those is very important in your day-to-day experience, because you only live so many days. It's a waste to not be able to like put on outfits that actually suit you and that you really, really like wearing, even though they don't suit you, for example. Someone also asked, is black and white not part of the personal color? And it is. So personal color is not necessarily like, oh, do I look good in blue? Do I look good in like pink? It's mostly, yes, of course it has to do with that, but it's also based on your color palette. So like your face color palette, aka is it more on the warmer tone side or the cooler tone side? So is it more warmer is more like yellowy beigey color, like orangey, and then cool is more pinkish. So people have like tendencies towards what they lean towards. I'm gearing more towards cool, but even within that there's also like 4 different seasons. So are you a spring, summer, fall, or winter? And based off that, it kind of gives you an idea of like the saturation. So just imagine like the colors that exist during that time, those colors will fit you very well. So the warmer colors are like spring and fall, but even within those two, they also have a different like saturation level, I would say, and particular colors that pop out a little bit more. So for example, I would say that like the autumn season has a little bit more of like the brownish colors, whereas spring actually has more of like the lighter colors like beige and ivory, although they are interchangeable and you will be able to see certain colors in others. It's just a matter of like how vibrant or how saturated they are. Do they have a little bit more whitish tone to it, or grayish tone, or blackish tone? And so that is why black, white, and gray is also part of the spectrum, because there are people who actually look better in more white colors versus people who look better in dark. And when I say look better in, it's a matter of like, do you look tired when you wear it? Do your dark circles, are they more prone? Do your eyes sparkle when you wear like a brighter color or a darker color? Which one suits you better? And so it's like, where do you want your like people to focus your attention on your face? And so for me, it was kind of like the right smack in the middle of my nose and also my eyes. Like, what color do I have to wear so that my features don't look like stretched out, like I don't look like I'm blended behind the scene, and which colors actually accentuate my nose and my eyes a little bit more. So that was, I guess, the personal color experience. And then from there, this part was actually interesting because I actually did my personal color many years ago when it was like a big thing here in Korea. I was super curious because what happened was my mom had told me that I was an autumn warm color, and so she was just like telling me to like wear all these different clothes that she didn't want to wear herself. I don't know how it happened, but I saw this like hot pink sports bra and I wore it and I was like, holy crap, this actually looks super good. What the heck? So I told my mom, I was like, oh my gosh, doesn't it look super good? And from that moment I was just like, okay, I need to go check to make sure like I want to look good in clothes, and if I have been wearing the wrong palette the entire time, there is a level higher than that I never knew about that I can reach. And so yeah, so I think in that sense I knew I was a cool tone person, but I actually wanted to know a little bit more of like the details of like what that means and how I can apply it to the stuff that I wear, whether it's my clothing, my hair, my makeup, my jewelry, etc. And apart from that, what was really fun is the personal styling. So body shape is also a very big thing that I have been ignoring my entire life. I noticed that like as a tall Asian girl, I think nowadays it's not as, I don't know, embarrassing. It's weird to say, but for me, it was actually really embarrassing to be tall. most of my friends were shorter than me as a 174, I guess 5'9" girl. So I ended up like hunching, and some people actually told me that like, oh, it sucks for you because you're so tall, you won't be able to get like the guys because they're all shorter than you. And it was just like a bad time where I just like never really liked being tall. And I also have like an elongated neck as well, so it just like makes me look taller. And now I'm regretting it because I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's like I could have been like a model in like middle school if I just took care of myself. Because I had ignored my body and hated on it for so long, I kind of missed the part where I could change and play around with the style and like visually how I could portray myself. And so disclaimer, this doesn't mean that I want all of you guys to think that appearance is like the end all be all, because it's totally not, but it does help in one, boosting your confidence to understand this stuff. Two, we can't avoid it. People who are more attractive do make more money on like general, and there's a lot of like free pass that people get when you're more attractive. And it's not that you can't become that, and I think it's just a matter of how much effort you can put into it. It does really help in developing better first impressions. It's better in terms of like understanding the other person's like, I guess, personality and style. It helps you be able to like connect faster to other people. And I talked about networking last week, so I'll touch upon that as well, because there's a little bit more in depth that I wanted to go into with networking because of the rap that it gets here in Korea and even in the States, and then comparing the two, I think is going to be kind of helpful. But before I go back to my personal style, let's drink this. I was waiting for the coffee to cool down because I don't know why I brewed the water to like 92 degrees. It's a little darker than I thought, like scent-wise. Okay. Oh, so I was actually scared that this coffee, because it has like fermentation or like hayang, as we call it in Korean, coffee in it, that it would be a little too strong and like very difficult for normal people, normies of coffee, to be able to like drink. But they actually did a good job mixing Ethiopia, I think, because that helps with the like not decreasing the acidity that you may want from this kind of coffee, but also not making it too strong in terms of like the watermelon, or the other ones are like pineapple, wine barrel, etc. So it's like a very subtle amount of fermentation in it, which is something that I've actually been really enjoying in coffees as well, but like a little bit of fermentation and then like using that as a blend to make it more, I guess, fun. Oh, the watermelon definitely comes out more. At first it was more minty, like darker mint, like very heavy, like, you know when you have like a mint mojito and you have like the mint that's inside, it's like you drink the entire mint mojito and then there's leftover mint and you kind of like end up chewing on that. That's what the mint tasted like in the very beginning, but the watermelon is definitely coming up as it cools down. So I'm gonna let this continue to cool down in the process, and then maybe I'll like let you know in the process of throughout the episode like how it changes. So checking the body type, it was actually split up into 3 categories. So you're either a straight, wave, or a natural body type. I actually recommend you doing a little bit more research on understanding what the 3 body types are, and honestly sometimes it's really hard to be able to tell which one you are unless you're really objective with yourself, because me and my friend, when we went, we both kind of like ended up choosing things that were each other, not ours. And so it was hard to actually see objectively what we were, because we have a certain like body image, or like it could be like distorted, or it could be like, oh, this is the body type that I want to have, and then you end up writing that down. It's kind of like when we're taking like MBTI tests. It's like, how honest can you actually be? Because sometimes you actually put down answers that are things that you want to become, not necessarily like who you actually are currently. But yeah, so that's why I think it's always important to have a professional helping you out, and the third person people helping you out as well. But I won't go into like the details of like what we did. The end result is basically that I am a natural body type, and it's more important for me to wear like oversized clothes or like, you know, streetwear or things like that. So that's what I'm going to be targeting this summer. But one other thing that my style consultant told me was that I probably will look good in natural, rough styled, like long hair. And I've always admired long hair before because I wanted to always have like Sailor Moon style hair. Like I felt like you could just do so much with so much hair in general. And so that's kind of what I admired. And that's why on impulse, I decided to get hair extensions. So no, this is not a wig. I mean, I guess it technically is a wig, but it's like very intricately, oh my gosh, what is up with me in that word today? Intricately put in strands of hair into my hair. For reference, it's kind of like taking 2 tiny little strands of hair, so this is just like a very exaggerated version, and then like putting the extension in, and then like somehow like curling them together, and then using a rubber band to stick them together, and there are like over 100 strands of pieces of hair in my head. So I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna take a lot of photos and commemorate this long hair while I have it, because I probably won't be able to maintain it for the longest time, just knowing my personality style, and we'll go back to having like shorter hair, which I know a lot of you guys are wanting my short hair to come back. So don't worry, it'll come back eventually. I just wanted to see if I could pull this off and see what kind of styles I can change and do with this. Once again, I do think that the entire process of doing it like a personal style and color experience is mostly not because you want to just look pretty, but it also gives you a better understanding of it gives you more doors and a viewpoint and a perspective on how to look at the world and understand yourself and see how the connection can be made. Because all in all, I think that it's great to be able to have a skill set in something. If you can be a master at something, like, props to you. Not everyone can do that as well. More and more I feel like that is the case, because I always thought that I would be someone who kind of like focuses on one thing and goes straight with it, whether it was like languages or like coffee. I thought that that was my like calling and that's all I was gonna do. Now I'm realizing that I like have all these different kind of skills, but I don't think I'm like 100% like a pro, because there are so many more professionals out there in the world who have been doing this for much longer, who know more things about each one of these topics that I thought that I had a little bit more skill in. Unfortunately, I am in this position where I feel like I've been touching this, I've been touching that, and I've been talking a lot about this kind of stuff on this podcast so far. But I think the most important thing is to be able to understand how you can connect different things. It's kind of like when we're starting with like algebra and geometry, the formulas are literally super simple, but the more you go deeper and deeper into mathematics, you have to use a particular formula and apply it in different ways, like based on the problem that you're given. Seeing things in 3D, for example, or understanding how this particular formula can be changed a little bit to be able to adapt to the problem at hand and solve the problem that way. And that is the harder part. That I think is a little bit more higher level, like smartness that needs to be applied. And it's the same with like fashion and imitation. Like you can imitate the exact same hair color, you can imitate the exact same t-shirt that they wear, but to be able to pull that off and create it into your style is, I think, the more difficult part. And the same thing with the skills. For example, like, yeah, you can have different skill sets, you can have different hobbies, but I think the true intellect and the true individuality that comes out from having these different skill sets and having these different interests comes in how can you connect them in a way that no one ever has before, or in a way that's so creative and enjoyable to watch that makes you the special person in that category. And that's, I think, the journey that I'm going in right now. And I know that it doesn't seem as explicit, but this is, I think, my way of being able to approach how I can connect different industries and see how far I can take myself in certain things and understand in that way, because then that will give me a bigger opportunity to see how can I bring coffee and languages and, I don't know, fashion and modeling into my career in the future. And as there are more and more people that are appearing on social media, I'm sure you will realize that there are so many people that are doing very interesting things, and I know that you guys may also want to do interesting business things as well. And I hope that eventually I want to let you guys know in on how that works as well, and how you guys can combine and connect these different things, because I think that is like the hardest part in all of this and also discipline, and to be able to change your identity in the process. And the reason why it's more difficult to change our surroundings and to accept other people's opinions of us is because we see different disagreeing commentary or things that are a little bit like criticism to us as things that we need to change our mindsets for, but it's actually seen as a threat to our identity. So this is actually an idea from Adam Grant's book, Think Again, which is one of my favorite books that got me a little bit more malleable in approaching other people and the remarks that people make and the remarks that I also say about myself, the limitations that I create for myself, the moments of disgruntledness that I get as well. Because the book basically, in the very beginning, it states that the reason why you feel disagreement and anger towards a comment that someone makes sometimes is not because you just don't agree with their opinion or their comment, but it's also because it's a threat to your identity. You have created this idea of yourself, of the world, that has kind of fixated over time. And when someone says something that goes against it, it's not just like, it's not attacking just that like statement or that potential hypothesis or a thesis or whatever. It's actually a threat to you. And so when someone says something bad about you, or when you have to change something, it's like losing a part of yourself that you always thought you had. Changing that means that you have to change yourself. And that is the most difficult part of the whole process, is to be able to change yourself. But treating yourself in a more lighthearted way is, I think, the key in making life more enjoyable, and also making you be able to find more opportunities that will get get you somewhere. So that lightheartedness that comes from not only approaching, so that lightheartedness when it comes to, and that's why people say like, don't take your life so seriously, like don't take yourself seriously. And people who are able to not necessarily degrade yourself, but be able to like laugh things off or like not be super taken aback by criticism is, I think, the key. And not only just like making yourself feel better, like not living a stressful life, but also in being able to reach new heights that people have struggled to reach in a more fast pace, because you aren't really, pulled down by the different thoughts and criticisms and opinions of others, and you're just kind of like, brushing it off and moving on and doing other things. So I hope that helps in understanding why I'm doing all of these like super quote unquote superficial things with myself recently, is because I think that by not taking my body so seriously, not taking my actions so seriously, I think that's one step in becoming more socially intelligent. I don't know, like socially, emotionally, I don't know the exact word. It's just like being more socially aware of my surroundings and understanding of my surroundings and also of people as well. So that's like the whole reason why I think I'm trying to delve into different categories, different worlds these days, and seeing like how far can I stretch myself, my body, my ideas, my life. And at the same time, I hope like going back to coffee, seeing like what is it about this brand, for example, that like really intrigues me. Like how do I see this being inserted in other people's lives? How can I see things from not only the coffee people's perspective, but other people's perspective is also a challenge. And I know that because I'm not actively like within the industry, aka not running my business, although I'd like to say that I'm still part of the industry. Whether or not people disagree or disagree, I'm not really sure. But it's a continuous struggle, I think, to learn. And I don't want to take any of the topics that I kind of delve into lightheartedly in the future as well, because it's important, I think, to understand a certain amount in that topic before you talk to other people, right? So, and that's also how you can find professionals in your field as well. If you know like nothing about coffee and you want to, if you know nothing about design and you want to hire people, or nothing about editing and you want to hire people, it's hard because you don't know the level that they're actually at. So you might actually hire someone and pay them a lot more and waste your time and energy into someone who actually doesn't deserve that. You might actually do more for someone, whereas you could actually, benefit from the greater efficiency if you had a little bit more knowledge in the field. And so whether you're trying to grow a business, whether you're trying to grow a skill, being able to in the entire process, a lot of studying and practice is always necessary, because that will actually help you in developing a bigger team, because then you're able to pass it on to people who are even better at the thing that you have a little bit more knowledge in. And that's how the other people who have that skill set will actually respect you more, because they will know that you also have an understanding of their field and their struggles as well. And so that's why I actually don't like it when people say that like, oh, I'm just going to be like a business owner and like have people under me who are professionals in their field doing stuff. But it's like, you also need to know a little bit of everything before you kind of delve into it, because like who would follow someone who doesn't know anything at all? If that makes sense. It's a struggle to be able to have an understanding of like every little part of the whole world. But I think that's why I am super grateful for having run a cafe, even though it wasn't necessarily part of my initial plan this quickly, at least now, because I'm able to understand like the struggles of a cafe, what it means to be stuck in a cafe, profit margins, the revenue structure, the business models that are required, and also just like, I guess, what people are looking towards and the different kinds of cafes, different kinds of roasteries that are out there, the ways that they want to change the world, for example, change the way that people drink coffee, for example, is always very different. So I did promise to talk about networking, and I don't have anything like super drastic or like amazing to talk about it, but I think the idea is networking in the States is seen as super important, and we have like panels and networking sessions and everything like that, even in college, and it's seen as like a necessary thing. Although sometimes we are annoyed by the fact that we have to do networking to be able to get anywhere. So that's why I think it gets a bad rap in college. But here in Korea, there's a term called nakasan, and nakasan is seen as really, really bad for some reason. I don't know how it is these days, because I haven't been in a corporate job for a little bit, but I do know that nakasan basically just means that like someone just got in without having any difficulty into getting into a particular position, where in the States, kind of like, yeah, because if you know that person, they know your skills and they trust you, so of course you're fine to be able to get into the company. But I There are cases where that is abused than others, but generally I just think that networking is also a skill. And whether it's also luck because you're born into a family where they have a lot of connections already, or you're not, that is of course just the way it is sometimes. But the way that you're able to climb up the ladder is to be able to constantly expose yourself to different settings during school, to be able to like go to networking sessions, or like, just like even say hi to a barista. Like I remember even in college, like one of the baristas at Elixir, like she was amazing. I don't think I ever asked her for her name, but she was such an incredible, like sweet, like 언니. And she was basically working at Elixir before she started getting her PhD at Harvard. And you never know where these people are going to go in the future, the people that you meet on the streets even. And some people are going to be really talented, and some people will be in fields that you will actually gain a lot of help and assistance from in the future. And so that is how networking is as a concept and on the bottom level. And so that's why I don't think that this should be seen as something that is super, super negative, at least here in Korea. That's kind of like a plea I have towards a lot of people here. But of course, I know that there are people who don't really have the skills or knowledge, and they're just kind of put in this situation. A lot of it has to do with like family members being put in situations. But as long as people are understanding, they understand like the skills, what they can and can't do, I think that is not a bad thing, because it's not always about like the chaebols being put in like networking situations, but it's also just like the general population being in that situation. So that's my 2 cents on networking. There are a couple people that I've been seeing like K-pop idol wise who have been doing like really, really great. An example is Taeyong from Cosmic Girls. I think her comeback was in September, but she did like a full like 180. She went from being like this cutesy girl in Wujuseonyo to being like this hot woman. Her style completely changed. She went from like very subtle makeup look to more like smoky eye. She had like very short like cutesy dresses, like lace wise and everything before, and then all of a sudden she turned into this like streetwear baddie wearing like crop tops and things like that. Also, I think when you have a signature look like Alyssa Liu, who won the women's figure skating at the Olympics this year, she is, I know, has been such a model to a lot of people. So inspiring, because she's bringing back positivity. She talks about like what it means to come back into the sport for her, the challenges, the mental struggles, but also just like the way that she approaches life and the people around her. And the fact that she does things that are so unique to her, I think just makes her stand out. And that's what I think I mean when you stand out and you kind of do your own thing. It doesn't matter about the trend. Like, you are the trend. Like, you become the trend. And her halo hair is super meaningful to her and super interesting to be able to see as well, and understand that all the things that she does probably has meaning to it that makes her life more fulfilling, and therefore she's able to maintain that positive energy. When you put meaning and gratefulness into certain things in your life, you get to feel more fulfilled and happy, and that will give you more positive energy. Unlike celebrities, I'm not doing this like pop out comeback season kind of thing, but more inviting you guys on in the journey of like what it may mean to be able to have that comeback season, the steps that go into a, I guess, individual who is trying to recreate herself in the process about like trying to like learn herself at the age of 29 now, and how I can make the most of my 30s. So I hope that gives you a little bit more insight on, especially for those who follow me on Instagram. Like, I know I don't talk necessarily deeply about like the process of like why I'm doing like all these kinds of sorts of things with my hair and my fashion and everything, like visually, but trust me, it's fun. If you have like the time and you're struggling, just like work on yourself, like your body, like work out, take care of yourself, get some more sleep, watch all the anime and drama that you haven't been able to do, and drink as much coffee as you want, because moments of rest and time alone is super important. And I'm super grateful that I am in the position where I can actually study myself and travel around and meet new people and develop more different opportunities in the future. This week was super hectic for me as well. I did a lot of business meetings. So in terms of like coffee, there's a lot that I want to share with you in the future that I'm super excited for. I'm super excited also to be able to take coffee in a different realm that I haven't seen yet before for myself. Whether people in the industry will enjoy the way that I interpret coffee may have a little bit of controversy. I don't know. But then again, I'm a type A and an INFJ, so I have a lot of different thoughts in my brain all the time. So who knows? I just hope that I'll be able to develop connections and ways of people seeing the world in different ways and insights and take yourself a lot more casually and more lightly, because that is something that I struggle with and I want to be able to help you guys in this journey as well. So, and as we wrap up, I just had one more sip of the coffee and the watermelon is definitely coming out. The acidity is a lot more stronger now than it was in the very beginning, but I think it's it's very sweet, and I actually preferred this to the Papua New Guinea that I had yesterday, which was a darker roast. And I also tried the number 1 light roast. That seemed a little too iffy, if I want to say. Like it wasn't like light, like floral. It was just like regular. I just felt like it was like regular blend coffee that was kind of just roasted light. And so I felt a little bit of a ashium. What's ashium in English? It's like a little bit of a lack in that coffee. But this one I think is definitely so much better than I expected, and very subtle, and something that I think anyone would enjoy. So if you were just like, oh, I want to know what watermelon might taste like in my coffee, this I think is a very good intro coffee to be able to taste that. If you like more of like the nuttier coffees and you're trying to, delve into the world of more acidic coffee. But anyway, thank you guys for listening today. I hope you guys have a lovely week ahead of you. It's kind of crazy how fast this year is going, but also let me know in the comments what you guys want to hear from me or talk about, or if you guys have any concerns about your life in general. I'd love to be able to hash out any advice, problem stuff, because that's what I used to do when I had the kotatsu versions of my podcast, earlier in the episodes when I was actually at a cafe. I took in different, letters from people of things that they're concerned about. So I kind of want to start that again and see if I can be of help to anyone. But yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for listening.